Good afternoon, Britannia, and hello to the rest of the world. Welcome to 2CTV, your global news channel. I'm Maya 2C, and we come to you guys with some breaking news coming from British politics. Reform UK have officially concluded their investigation into the allegations against Rupert Lowe and his behavior and his office in terms of harassment and bullying and things like that. We have the report, we have the summary, we actually went through the actual full report with the team. We're going to go through that. There's a reaction from Rupert Lowe showing outrage at the investigation itself. And there's more controversies, obviously, around the party, which we're going to bring you guys. And of course, get your reaction during the show in the live chat and in the comment section. Right, first things first, this is the initial statement we received from Reform UK saying that following complaints received from two women about the conduct of Mr. Lowe and members of his male staff, Reform UK appointed an independent King's Counsel to investigate the matter. Her report is now complete. In summary, the independent King's Counsel, the KC, has found there to be credible evidence of unlawful harassment of two women by both Mr. Lowe and male members of his team. Contrary to Mr. Lowe's public statements, one of the women's allegations were made against Mr. Lowe himself. One of the women received threats that Mr. Lowe would take legal action against her if she cooperated with the investigation. Both women gave their statements to the KC as sworn statements under penalty of perjury. Mr. Lowe has refused to do the same, but both women lodged formal complaints with the ICGS in January. Reform UK will cooperate fully with their investigation. In the interest of transparency, we published a full report. So we went through this. The summary of the report is, it's not necessarily to find somebody guilty or not guilty. It's mostly just he said, she said sort of situation. But the technical parts of the actual investigation is also very important. So first things first, Connor Thompson actually posted saying, because in the actual investigation, one of them used the Equality Act, right? Saying, citing the Equality Act in the HR complaint against Rupert Lowe is not giving right-wing anti-establishment party vibes, especially when scrapping the act in the first 100 days of government was in Reform UK's election manifesto itself. Now, obviously, some people in Reform UK would say we're not really anti-establishment. We just want to be in government and actually form a government and be a serious mainstream party. But some people see or saw Reform UK as anti-establishment. So again, it's just different phrasing as you see. Now, Rupert Lowe decided to hit back saying, I've been told that this is just before the report was released, minutes before. The Reform investigation is going to be released, the report, prior to a deadline given to my lawyer. The Reform investigation has not spoken to me nor my team. So here's my report on the unfounded claims of bullying in my office. I've gone through the evidence that has finally arrived from the Reform investigation. So let's take a look. So Rupert Lowe is now claiming that they didn't actually speak to him or his team, which obviously brings a whole different issue. Now, let's go through this together. Obviously, we had the reaction from Reform UK. Now we have a reaction from Rupert Lowe. One of the primary complaints, he says, to give you an idea of the veracity of the allegations, following a conversation about the standards constitutes issue, an email with contact details, one of the complainants was forwarded to her from a colleague with no subject line or context. She felt this was an incident of rudeness and undermining. Apparently, the unspoken subtext of the blank email was, look what you have done. So basically there was no subject in the email. People got upset. The other complainant talks of micromanaging from a colleague who raised the legitimate issues about her work maybe 2 or 3 times in 6 months, not even working from the same geographical location. Both complainants only raised these allegations once the disciplinary process had started against them for multiple serious offences. So one person got upset because of no subject in an email. The other one got upset because they were told 2 or 3 times in 6 months to do work. I gave the Daily Mail interview on the 25th of February, Farage's team was made aware of that interview on the 26th. These complaints were raised, escalated within Reform the day after, on the 27th. The complaints were submitted to the independent parliamentary body on the 28th of January. And on the 2nd of February, obviously did the same. Why did it take almost a month for these to be raised and escalated within Reform? The day after Reform leadership was made aware of the interview, basically. All a coincidence, is it? How these complaints were brought forward within Reform immediately after my mildly critical comments of the leadership. So he's mentioned that before. Farage admitted in his own words through a BBC investigation that he didn't allow the investigation to even start before I was removed from the party because I had damaged the party because of the interview. From the outset, this was evidently not a fair process designed to find the truth. I am not a Reform MP. My staff are not Reform staff. This has nothing to do with Reform. I will not put my staff through such a disgustingly biased process to satisfy Farage's ego. So let's not forget, the parliamentary staff is different to party staff. So if at Reform UK headquarters there's a bit of a row, then obviously Reform UK would do an investigation. Parliamentary staff obviously belong to Parliament and the MP, not the party themselves. They're not controlled by the party. So if you want to complain about your boss, you go to Parliament. That's basically how it works, not really the party. Anyway, but Reform UK is a new party. They probably didn't know how Parliament works. That happens all the time. Both of the complainants admitted to serious offences and both only raised any issues once the process started. Both then went on to admit other serious offences. I treat taxpayers' money with respect, and that means that staff who commit such unacceptable actions must be held accountable with disciplinary action. There's no evidence of any bullying because there was none. No bullying, no aggressive behavior, no violent threats. There are outright lies, unsurprisingly. These have gone unchallenged and accepted as fact, even with zero evidence by the Reform investigation itself. The statement published by Reform was designed to make it look like I was accused and guilty of all of these things. That is simply false and incredibly libelous. There will be more news on this soon, so I think he wants to take legal actions. He says, let's look at the other claims. One of the individual's primary complaints was that she was forwarded an email she was expecting with information from a colleague on the 8th of January, with no greeting following a separate conversation about the case. She felt an unspoken subtext of the email was basically means rude, right? There was another incident, rudeness, was on the 15th of January, where she asked someone to move information from a WhatsApp to email. A colleague, after that, said to her, it's easier if you do it, as it was her responsibility. She said it was an insult to her intelligence that she was asked not to disclose confidential information to individuals outside the office. She complained that more experienced members of the team conducted regular reviews of her casework with constituents and brought up issues. Yes, my team checks work, particularly of an individual who had just started employment and was evidently struggling. This was a standard part of her training. Part of her evidence was imagining what was said between two other colleagues. We quote, I can only wonder at what they might have been exchanging. This is not evidence, he says. Imagining something. This individual, Rupert Lowe says, was allowed to change her sacking for gross misconduct to a resignation, as I was concerned about her and did not want to cause further damage to her reputation, as she was also removed from her previous job prior to working for me over gross misconduct. So the person was fired another time over gross misconduct. When the process began, she told the constituency manager for the first time that she had a condition which impacted her ability to understand instructions. We were all entirely unaware of any specific issue. Again, she only raised once the process started. We have undeniable evidence to prove this. After her suspension, her father came to my constituency office. He refused to leave, becoming extremely irate and aggressive with my team. This was reported to the Great Yarmouth Police. The other individual involved began her statement complaining that all staff in Westminster were treated equally on pay. She wanted more than everyone else. Despite errors in her work, she took great exception with having sensitive and important issues double checked to ensure that there were no further mistakes. Apparently, there were other messages to prove that she was stressed, but she has deleted them. There was a phone call with a colleague that she was unhappy with. She was also upset that she wasn't given the entire Christmas break off without using any holiday. Employees were allowed to work from home, but I expected the email account to be monitored and action. That was apparently unpleasant. This is when she became openly annoyed. She refers to the constant and unbearable and unnecessary micromanagement. She was upset that colleagues were critical. She did not like being chased. Micromanaging is a huge complaint from her towards somebody who spoke directly about an issue with her work maybe 2 or 3 times between July and January. So as someone who worked in Parliament before, it becomes, in terms of the admin part, it becomes fast-paced. The email inbox, as you guys can imagine, you get thousands of emails from constituents and non-constituents. You have to be on top of that. And I remember the MP and the senior person always would be checking and chasing me, saying, well, is that done? Is that done? You know, it's just a part of the procedure. Obviously, I've got many parliamentary friends as well who have the same situation. That's just the culture of parliamentary offices. Going back to this, Rupert says, yes, we have high standards in the office, and I expect taxpayers' money to be spent effectively and wisely. I make no apologies for that. In fact, I am proud of the work that my team has done. If errors are made, as there were, then I expect that to be highlighted and corrected. She was not micromanaged. Maybe on 10 or so occasions in 6 months, she was asked by the team to double check that an important issue had been resolved. The colleagues she accuses were not even working in the same geographical location as her. They perhaps met her 6 or 7 times. Both statements are filled with hearsay and outright lies based on zero evidence. Suppose the conversations from months ago are detailed in precise quotes. These conversations never happened. The reform investigation has accepted everything they've said as fact, with zero credible evidence to back up their wild claims. Mildly inappropriate comments made by one member of casework staff in a private WhatsApp conversation with another member of staff who has gone on to maliciously leak selected out of context parts does not constitute bullying. I had no awareness of these conversations, and to be frank, both employees shouldn't have been spending so much work time gossiping online. So he's saying that the one thing that was basically a little bit out there had nothing to do with it. It was a WhatsApp conversation between those guys. In these conversations, one of the complainants even repeatedly mocks the other complainant over her dress for the Christmas party, which I organized and funded, and calls her weird. She also refers to a different colleague as a coward, prat, and pathetic. If anyone is doing any bullying, it's one of the complainants herself. There is no evidence of any unpleasant behavior from those she's insulting and accusing. Parliamentary HR advice was followed at every step of the way, as the BBC political editor has seen and confirmed. This is from Chris Mason and Laura Kunsberg. The BBC has also seen evidence of lengthy and detailed exchanges between Lowe's officers and Parliament's Human Resources team over the alleged conduct and subsequent departures of the 2 members of staff. Now, following this, there was a statement also from the team on behalf of Rupert Lowe, but everything has become a little bit gossipy, and there's a lot of attacks, obviously, from all sides on this. I will get your reaction, obviously, in this situation. But over the last day or so, Reform UK made some major announcements in terms of new candidates for the by-election and everything else. And the anti-reform side, anti-leadership reform side, have come out to mention a few things, including Sarah Pochin, who is the new candidate for this by-election. It's been discovered that she attended, as mayor, a refugees welcome event. So this was with the Syrians and Afghani refugees and migrants, about illegal migrants, right? Now, they were saying that, it's okay because she was mayor and she was told to attend. We have had many examples that Sadiq Khan, for example, and other mayors, and Boris Johnson as mayor, they've been told to go to certain events, and they said that we're not gonna go to this event, for example, because it's inappropriate, for example, or it's against my views or my values. And you have a choice as a politician. But there was all the other things came out against this person, Sarah. She was actually expelled from the Tory party. She was kicked out, despite being a local mayor. She attended the refugees welcome event, we know that. She advocated for drag queen story time for children. She was happy to stand for Farage despite having a business fail, and obviously also blamed Brexit. So she wasn't happy with Brexit, but obviously still joined Reform. As a magistrate, she actually let a drink driver off by saying it is what it is. So there were all these allegations coming out. So you can see that Reform UK, as they become bigger as a party, it's natural to expect that there will be more scrutiny on them. So sometimes you can say justified criticism, and sometimes you can say, well, because they're a mainstream party now, they're just going to get random attacks, right? So anybody who hates them just going to come up with things. So some of them could be factual, some of them could just be people's opinions. This is what's happening. But Reform UK, as a new emerging party, they're not used to it yet. A lot of the people who are running Reform UK were part of obviously smaller movements like UKIP at the time, or the Brexit party. Now they want to be a serious party rather than a protest party. So it comes with it. The Tories, Labour and all the others get this all the time. Sometimes justified criticism, sometimes just random attacks. They're complaining, saying that this is not fair, but it happens all the time. Same thing happens to President Trump, for example. But going back to this person, she was also previously, only a few years ago in 2020, supporting net zero, saying that they're delivering a sustainable and green economy in Cheshire East, including the development of low carbon industry. So they are saying that she's now changed her mind and her views on this, which is good news, I guess. But there's also all the other stuff. The GB News decided to actually change the headline. A lot of people said that they were told to do it. This was the original headline on GB News. Reform UK's Runcorn candidate welcomes Syrian and Afghan refugees, but now fully supports net zero immigration. So that seems to be quite accurate. But then GB News were told to change it, right? This is the headline now. Reform UK's Runcorn candidate fully supports net zero immigration and is committed to deporting illegal migrants. It's like the whole thing changed into making sure the headline is definitely pro Sarah Pochin and Reform UK, which is kind of interesting, but it also happens all the time. Now, going back to the statement we received from Rupert Lowe's team, this is also the actual response to the actual report. These two women, the team says, have excessively complained in an attempt to smear Rupert and the entire team. And we are a team. We work together well. The only issues raised within the office have been from these two individuals who only did so after they committed serious offences. This whole ordeal has been difficult on all of us. We don't want any of this. We just want to get on with our jobs and support Rupert, who has been a fantastic boss. There has never been any bullying. We will all go on the record to say so and have done so already. I have heard nothing from the relevant body in Parliament, nor have my team. This is again going back to Rupert himself. Of course, I will cooperate fully with that investigation if it ever comes. He finishes by saying that this is not bullying. There was no bullying. There never has been any bullying. Using such claims to damage me through my staff is shameful, and I will be urging Parliament to take action alongside my own legal teams. And of course, saying that this has been tough, and the Reform's leadership have proven themselves to be deceitful cowards and everything else. So now we got both sides of the argument, right? Let's quickly get your reaction. Let me see what you guys think, obviously, in the live chat. We got Andrew, thank you for your super chat, saying, sounds trumped up to me. Otherwise, why would the Tories be trying to recruit him? Yeah, but it's in the interest of the Tories to try to recruit him, obviously, but doesn't necessarily mean that Rupert is saying yes to that. We don't know. Bill Anderson says Rupert will not make sworn statements as it could cost him 6 months imprisonment. Criminal Law Act, Section 5.2 causes any wasteful employment of the police by knowingly making to any person a false report, perjury, basically. Yeah. Now, let's have a look at Soko 1066 is not happy, saying stop listening to influencers. That's usually good advice. We got through 2 world wars without them. 2C only mutual. I don't know what's going on with the rest of the sentence. Mutual what? Yes, it's probably best not to listen to influencers because everyone has their own opinion on this. Obviously, as a news channel, we'll just be reporting this. I've given you my thoughts previously on this, but today I'm going to be getting your views on this. Reform have exposed themselves totally as a Trojan horse. But the thing is, this is just about Reform trying to be, in an attempt to be one of the serious parties. It comes with a lot of baggage, obviously. There's a lot of responsibility on becoming a major party, especially a parliamentary party, and this is part of it. Maisie says, what a sorry mess this little lot. The 2 established parties have got away with it again. Not really. We got 4 years of the election. Things change so quickly in politics. Within the next 2 months, everything will change again, and nothing will stay as it is. Soko says you're only one staying mutual. Yes. I think you mean neutral. Yes, that's true. Neutral. Yes. I think you mean mutual, like mutual what? Thanks for that. I hate the term. Which term is this? Wait, what? I don't know. Now, let's get some more reaction. Neil says, since starting a new political party is hard, yep, take over the Green Party with a policy of exposing the Muslim rape gang. That was my idea. So I came up with this idea a few years ago because the Green Party, they have membership but not huge, right? So we actually did our homework with a friend of mine. I can't remember, this is a few years ago. We were like, okay, if we get a few hundred people, what we can do is take over the NEC part, the actual central body of the Green Party, right? You can vote one person, one of us, as a leader and chairman, and then you can just completely change the Green Party's manifesto and everything else constitutionally. The good thing about that is that the Green Party or the Lib Dems or all the other mainstream parties, they are a mainstream party, so they have the infrastructure, they got the structure, they have the funding, they have the branches, they have the candidates. So all you have to do is just change your policies. Imagine if you could do that. That would be funny. Now, Ollie says Farage likes the £300 for sitting in the House for half an hour before going for a free smoke bar. That's not the House of Commons, Ollie. That's only for the House of Lords. In the House of Lords, also the £300 has gone up. I think it's about £500-600. I think. Yeah, so it's the House of Lords. There, as long as you enter and you be there for like half an hour, you get paid a few £100 just for attending, which is kind of funny. No, the House of Commons, it doesn't work that way. You just get the annual salary. You don't really get anything else on top of it, apart from the freebies. Now, J.R. Williams says, 2C, I thought the allegations against the Lowe centered around racial evidence he made towards Z are useless. No, so this is where it all got confusing, because when the initial statement was released by Reform, what was it, on the 28th, whatever it was, on February. He mentioned it was about Rupert Lowe's office, some of the people who work there. But it sounded like also Rupert Lowe is a bully himself, because the initial statement, the allegations was, yes, there are two women who are accusing Rupert Lowe's office of bullying. And in that statement, which was written by Zio Youssef as chairman and Lee Anderson, the whip, they said, oh, by the way, Rupert Lowe himself has also previously threatened Zio Youssef on a number of occasions, a couple of times, I think, right? Like threatened, nothing racial. It was mostly like threatened with violence. That's what they said. But the actual accusation in the initial statement was that Rupert Lowe's office, basically people in the office, were bullying each other, right? But the media changed the narrative because the bottom of the statement also said, P.S. Rupert Lowe has also been rude to Zia in terms of threatening him, which wasn't reported until now, even though they said it happened in December 2024. Lilia says, Rupert Lowe is an intelligent man. He would never utter a racist comments in public or online. Yeah, we do it in private, right? Like the rest of us. Come on, why can't he do it in private? Yes. Well, yeah, I don't think I've seen anything public in terms of anything racist from Rupert Lowe himself. Or, for the record, the other side as well. I've never seen Nigel Farage to say anything racist either. My alarm bells started ringing when Reform started using Hope Not Hate to do their vetting months ago. So if I'm not wrong here, I believe that what happened was Hope Not Hate, basically, they were the ones who were doing the witch hunts, right? They do it all the time. I'm on their list, by the way. Yay. They go through the candidates and everybody else, and then they come to you like the mafia, where it's sort of like, blackmailing sort of tactic. They say, this is your candidate, what do you have to say? So then you were like, oh, okay, well, let's get rid of him. That's usually how they do it. And I'm guessing that's basically what happened with this mostly happened under Richard Tice when he was leader as well. It was a bit of a mess. Hope Not Hate are basically just bullies. Yeah, they are the true bullies, by the way. Margaret Jackson says lost faith with Farage when he wouldn't have a Tommy in his party because Tommy was exposing grooming. Yeah, but Tommy didn't want to be part. Tommy doesn't want to be part of Reform UK, right? Or at this point, any party. I don't know if it comes out, he might choose to join the monster raving loony party or the Green Party. He might, you never know, knowing Tommy. But no, Tommy didn't want to join, so it's not like Farage stopped him from joining. Farage and Reform UK kept saying that Tommy is not welcome in the party. They're like, but nobody said you should welcome him. There was a bit of an overreaction when it came to the Tommy thing. They could have easily dealt with that differently. All they had to say was saying, yes, we are aware of Tommy Robinson. Yeah, we heard the name. He does a lot of cultural movements. Yeah, we agree with some of the stuff he says. We don't agree with everything he's done. And, some of our supporters might support him. And that's it. That's all you could say. And say, yeah, we don't really have any plan to be associated with Tommy. That's it. That's all. That would have been the best approach. If, for example, Tommy was going to start a campaign to say, I would like to join Reform, help me join Reform, then it would have made sense for Reform UK to say, well, we can't really have Tommy, right? If they wanted to stop him from joining. Because it's a choice of any political party to stop people. You might agree or disagree. But there wasn't a conversation about him joining. But the defense was, we don't want him to join. Like, you don't have to say that. it just made it more complicated. Roy Davis says, it sounds like these two women are plants to cause trouble for Rupert. Well, this is the other thing. So, again, from my time in politics and in Parliament, I can confirm that it's not necessarily plants. There's a lot of people, younger people especially, when they join work in politics, Westminster, they're not really built for it. So they could be sensitive. They might be, especially from anyone from the millennial generation or Generation Z, or as the American says, Gen Z. Don't know why. They might see it as a little bit tough. By the way, it's not hard work. Parliament is not hard work. It's not rocket science. It might take your time because there's a lot of emails to respond to, but a monkey could do it as long as the monkey is hardworking. But a little bit of banter, a little bit of shouting is too much for some people. Say, oh my God, someone's being mean to me, which, I mean, it's work. What do you expect? I think it's becoming very difficult to have any sort of a professional organization, whether it's a business, corporation, or parties, because someone is going to get offended. Someone is going to be saying, well, how dare you chase up the work that you asked me to do, blah, blah, blah. So it doesn't have to be a plant. It just could mean, a sensitive flower, which happens all the time. I've seen so many of them in the Tory party, the Labour Party when I was in Parliament. But by the way, you also do have bully bosses. You have so many MPs who are bullies. Oh yeah, definitely. I've seen a number of them. Like mean, like not justified, just mean, rude for no reason. They walk in grumpy, shout at people, and these tend to be, I can confirm, the MPs who've never actually run a business. They've never actually had any experience in the outside world. These are the mostly Tory MPs I've seen them do this, who were just career politicians, and they don't understand that that they need to have people skills. So they just go in the morning grumpy, and you can also see there's an easy trend. If you want to judge an MP to see if that MP is a good boss or a bad boss, just have a look at the turnover in their office. How many times do people join and leave immediately? There are a number of MPs that you can see that people keep joining. After a couple of months, they leave, and they have like about 30 people working in that office throughout the year, an office of like 2 or 3 people. So it's not difficult to find out which MP is a bad boss or a bully, basically. PC says, God bless you, Maya. Thank you so much for that. Nick says, Maya, can you answer this question, please? Do Muslims pay council tax? As far as I know, they do. Why shouldn't they? Any Islamic organization that has a charity status, they could avoid business trade, things like that. But unless somebody wants to correct me, as far as I know, I mean, just because you're Muslim doesn't mean you shouldn't pay tax. I know that they have with the Sharia courts, there are a number of, and also there's Sharia finance officers and accountants that find loopholes for certain tax breaks for Islamic people and businesses. They have that, so they could get tax break, but that's different. So we can find out more about that, because anybody could just identify a Muslim and not pay council tax, right? Anyway, let's go. But also, yes, the tax that is raised from Islamic communities, like in Birmingham and Luton, those councils make a lot of money. So, and they're all Islamic families. So imagine if they didn't pay council tax, there would be any council tax revenue for the Birmingham Council or Luton. J.R. Williams says, so what's next for reform? They seem to be imploding. Well, not necessarily again, because they are becoming more mainstream. So they're getting a lot of Tories defecting. So the membership's still slowly going up. And the opinion polls, the 3 main parties are now neck and neck. Basically, Labour, Tory and Reform are all on 22%, which is a bit of a mess for the country. But also because it's first past the post, Reform UK will be the third party. So even if Reform UK right now is on 24%, Labour and Tories are on 23 and 22, because of first past the post, because of the way the vote is spread around the country, Reform will become the third party. So Reform needs to be about 10-15 points ahead of the other parties in order to be able to become the largest party. It's a bit of a challenge for new parties, obviously. So that is one of the big problems for them. Anyway, so this is the report that has now been published. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section as well. We're going to take a break and come back because we've got so much to talk about today. The founder of Hamas has gone boom boom. Yes, he's gone to meet his 72 virgin goats in Gaza. He's been eliminated, basically. And we're also going to talk about the Islamic rise in Britain because, there's more evidence of some cultural problems, let's just say, in the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Maya Tusi, and we are the media.